Welcome back to the Reese Files. Today we'll tell you a story. The names will be changed to protect the innocent, not so innocent. And not because I don't remember the name of some of the people involved. Totally not because of that. Now I have a buddy, let's call him Roger for argument's sake. Yeah, so this buddy of mine, Roger, and I, we're actually very alike in a lot of ways, especially when it comes to the opposite sex. When it comes to the opposite sex for either one of us, especially those that are particularly attractive, logic and other things seem to go out the window almost at all times. We don't know how to act. I say that to say that sometimes he and I both were either get into situations that if we were paying a little bit more attention to, we probably could have avoided it altogether. Stuff together just because we're about the only two left in our group that aren't married. We're at that stage where most of our friends are married and moving on and married, having kids, that sort of thing. And we're still holding on. He's living the bachelor life. I'm actually coupled up, but still not at that marriage step yet. So one day he has to take his car in for service, and the car is going to be in for about a week. So being the gracious friend that I am, of course I gave him a ride to the dealership. So when these things happen, usually your insurance company will pay for a rental for you for a certain amount of time while you get your car worked on. He decided to go with a rental company, and I won't say the rental company's name because I don't want to get sued in case anyone ever actually does watch this video. We're at the rental company, it's crowded, waiting for a car, and at this rental agency, all the rental reps, can't call them sales reps because they're not selling the cars, but all the agents are really attractive, barely out of college, really smoking. So, at this point, you're willing to buy whatever they're selling, kind of. So they let him know that they've picked out a car for him to rent. This really just gorgeous girl walks us out to the car, walks him around to take a look at the car, and they hand him the keys and flew through that process. Just flew right through that process without him really even getting a second to ask any questions. And from what I could tell, she was flirting with him just a little bit. And me being a wingman, I'm not gonna stand in the way of that. I'm noticing it. We do the bro telepathy thing. It's like, yeah, you go there. AKA, we're delusional. But there was definitely some flirting going on there. After he's all done doing a bad job of flirting and getting in the car, we drive off. After Leroy is done flirting with the rental hottie, he drives off into the sunset. Oh yeah, by the way, his name's Leroy now. I decided to change it mid-story. Deal with it. And after a very uneventful week of driving, we drive back to drop his car off so I can take him to the repair shop and pick his car up finally. Who so magically is there a week later but rental hottie? So it's like, oh, this must be fate. So Leroy turns the car in, and rental hottie does the customary check around the car to make sure there's no damage or anything like that. Except this time it's a little different. Rental hottie goes directly to the back of the car and finds a scratch. What's this? You scratched our car. We didn't have this before. Now here's the one thing about Leroy. He's a lot of things, but a reckless driver he isn't. He definitely took care of that car to the utmost of his ability that week. So I can say this without a shadow of a doubt that he definitely didn't scratch that car. Not at all. There's no way that happened. Now, if it was me taking that car back, I'd be like, yeah, you know what? Maybe. It's quite possible. I'm just reckless. I live a thug life. I don't. Obviously, I don't live a thug life. But with Leroy, or Leroy if you're French. But with Leroy, he definitely wouldn't do that to a car. Something's fishy here. There's something fishy here. See, so let's backtrack a little bit. There's always that option that you can buy for a bit extra, some insurance with the rental car. When he first took out that rental car, the girl mentioned it, but she didn't mention it heavy, and she said, most of our customers don't get this. She kind of, glossed through it. She pushed through it like she didn't want him to get the rental insurance. But even more curious is when she came back and checked the car, like I said earlier, she went right to the spot. She went directly to the back and said, "What's this?" without much pretense of looking around at other spots. That seems very suspicious to me. It's funny that while he was renting the car, they didn't do a thorough walkthrough, but afterwards, all of a sudden, she's Sherlock Holmes discovering things. It's like, I don't know if I trust this rental hottie so much. And all of a sudden, a pretty rental hottie, well, she was still hot. She just came, the evil rental hottie, you got one over on him. What can you really do? You signed the car out. You did sign that you know, they usually sign a damage waiver beforehand. Now your insurance is on the hook for it. All that little flirting and being nice and all these other things that she was beforehand, she definitely wasn't now. So in the end, my boy files a complaint. Would you guess it? He loses that complaint. Obviously, he's going to lose that complaint. He was always going to lose that complaint. Rental car company X, which knows they have those scratches and knows they have that damage beforehand, decided, hey, if we can get somebody else to pay for it, if we can get them on the hook for it, we're going to do that. That's why a lot of times they have you look at the car and circle and show where the damage is before, because they don't pay for the damages. They wait till they can get a sucker to pay the damages for them. Because it wasn't a new scratch, it was a faded scratch. It was a faded scratch. If anybody's had a car, knows the difference between a scratch that just happened and a scratch that happened a long time ago. Things wear over time. It's nothing as infuriating as a brand new scratch. So for anyone who's ever had one before, anyone who's had a car, period, at some point your car gets scratched. And you know right away what a new scratch is. That was not a new scratch. And that's why generally rental cars aren't in pristine conditions, because they know at some point somebody is going to turn down that insurance and they're going to miss a scratch during that initial walkthrough that they can get them on the hook for later. And that's a little worrying to all you folks at home. The rental companies, sure, they offer their own insurance, but that's really only if they have to get those repairs done. If they don't have to get those repairs done, if anything's really cosmetic in nature, they're gonna wait for somebody to slip up and not catch the damage beforehand, and then all of a sudden your insurance company pays for it. And it's impossible to fight them at that point because you've already signed this, you already signed that. It's a whole mess and you'll lose in the end. My suggestion is don't go for a rental car, which is kind of possible with all these new ride sharing options they got out there. You got Uber, Lyft, insert whatever thing they might have come up by the time this video is out here. It's really not impossible to get around without having to do a rental car. Just food for thought. And if you absolutely have to rent a car for some reason, make sure to check that car thoroughly before you take it out. Make note of every scratch, every scrape, everything, especially if you're going to turn down the insurance. Now, if you accept the insurance, run into a fence. What are they going to do about it? You already paid for the insurance. Unless there's a loophole that says even though you paid for the insurance doesn't cover this, etc., etc. So even be careful with that. Just make sure you check everything possible. And watch out for that flirtatious hottie at the front counter. They might just be out to get you. Bye. No. Stop asking. I'm not Captain America. Then again, you haven't seen the two of us in the same room at the same time. What's that, Tony? We should be civil to each other.